Good evening, Steelers fans. Welcome to the Hangover. My name is Tony Defio, and I am joined by the great Shannon White and the great Kyle Kreis.
What is
How
up?
are you guys doing tonight?
I'm draining all my ketchup bottles as we speak. Pour some out.
Yeah.
Sad day. Sad day.
Apparently, according to Twitter, it is a sad day. It's been a sad week. So I actually haven't talked to you guys live on the air since that all went down last. Was it Monday? So how do you feel about the name change? I'll start with you, Kyle.
I'm just like, okay, yeah, sure. There's a minute where you're like, yeah, it's not Heinz Field anymore. But then the rest of the 24 hours of my day is like, why are we showing such commitment and such loyalty to brands? It's like I'm committed to the people on the field. The brands I could care less about.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's something that we'll get used to. 10 years Pittsburgh anyway, we're petitioning city to Mellon Arena, the Civic Arena, after then the Consol Energy Center opened. Which, I mean, it seems ridiculous. A city the size of Pittsburgh to have two arenas right across the street. And, they tore it down and we went on with our lives. What about you, Shannon? What do you feel about the Acrisure Stadium? Is it something, are you going to get a t-shirt saying, I will never call it anything but Heinz Field, or whatever they...
Life will never be the same. I don't want to be melodramatic.
Well, there you go.
I don't want to have a lot of hyperbole, but yeah, life will never be the same, and I'm quite distraught over it. That was I'm not going to question my Steeler fandom, but that was such a great union, and all those great memories, and now we got to start all over. But no, seriously, it's not that big a deal. I think that it would have been nice to tie something to the Steelers into the name. Because I've never heard of Acrisure, and so I think they could have said Rooney Field or something, but other than that, it's not really a big deal.
Fred Rogers Field, that would have been my choice.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, but Acrisure Fred Rogers Field or Fred Rogers Neighborhood, brought to you by Acrisure Stadium, something like that. But apparently, the corporation that paid $10 million a year wanted their name and their name only on there, and nobody else ponied up the right amount of money. That's what people are forgetting. UPMC, Heinz, Kraft Heinz, none of those guys wanted to pony up the cash, and Acrisure Stadium did, and that's why they're going to be. That's why we're going to be calling it that for the next 15 years.
Hey, Tony, do you think?
Yes, sir.
Here's the big question. Will the Steelers use this revenue to upgrade the stadium? Because I think there's a lot of upgrades they could do. Then I think everybody would feel better about it. But they haven't said anything that I've heard.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure they plan on doing that. I mean, they have to. I mean, otherwise, because that's what they alluded to that during the press conference last week. So they said this can make them more competitive. So I assume that means through upgrading the stadium. And if you talk to enough experts out there, people who visited various NFL stadiums, it's starting to lag behind the other places like was it SoFi or whatever that's called, and of course Jerry World.
Overrated.
Well, we might think so, but these owners, I mean, they're all about the amenities, they're all about the revenue stream. So. Before we continue, we have to say that have to give a shout out to Brian Anthony Davis. He's not with us tonight, as you can see. It's me and Kyle and Shannon, and Brian somewhere being a pillar of the community and shaping young minds as a Boy Scout troop leader. So he'll be back with us next week. So hurry back, Brian. It's not the same without you or whatever. We're supposed to hound you. We'll do that later, I guess. We're supposed to rip you, right? Shannon was supposed to do it. He was in charge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tony?
Yeah, rip him.
I have a mission statement for tonight. And I think you could take a page and learn a lesson from the great Vince Lombardi. Because without Brian here, we have to keep going, and we will strive for perfection. We will never obtain it, but we'll achieve excellence along. So that's how we need to look at this opportunity.
Next man up.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, the caveat to that is the Packers finished 6-8 in Lombardi's the first year after Lombardi left. So we'll see. Hopefully, we won't give you a 6-8 show tonight.
We'll blame it on Kyle. We'll blame it on Kyle.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, he's not. I mean, he's only doing this podcast from a radio station. So what does he know? We're doing it from our living rooms, our man cave. So we're obviously more qualified. But before we get into tonight's topic, can you believe we're 1 week away, basically, from the start of training camp? I mean, isn't it amazing how the off season just kind of flies by now? How the NFL is like they've mastered that. I mean, you go from the Super Bowl to the Combine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Before you know it, it's training camp. So, I'll start with you, Shannon. Was the off season painstakingly slow, or did it just fly by?
I actually enjoyed it because there was so much more activity than normal. Because usually the Steelers, you know, free agency is a snooze fest. Because, it's like, well, they might sign one or two of their guys back if they're lucky because they're always up against the cap. Well, this year they actually had money.
Right.
I think they made some really good improvements with that free agents group, and I think they drafted well. So I was excited. Now, I'll be honest, the last 2 weeks, if you notice our numbers and our audience, and everybody's kind of in this dog days of, of July, waiting for training camp to start. And it's kind of gotten boring and stale. And so I'm super excited about training camp starting up.
I can't wait. Just 8 more days. What about you, Kyle? How'd you spend your off season? Did you do any mourning, or did you move on shortly after that blowout loss to the Chiefs?
Yeah, I was mourning the state of Steeler Nation. All these fans who. But I came to a realization this offseason that because I'm always harping on the fans who are just like always negative 75% of the time. But I realized for these Gen Z Steelers fans, this is the dark ages. Fans our age remember the Bubby era. We remember, the Tom Zach era. But these Gen Z fans, this last 5 years is the dark ages.
Right. Yeah. This is pretty bad for them. No playoff wins since 2016, and I lived through, and you guys did too, the 85 through 90 era with Chuck Noll, and they made the playoffs once in that entire time, and they had 5-11 seasons, a couple of 6-10, or at least one 6-10 season in there, and it was pretty dark. But then they brought in after Noll retired, they hired Bill Cowher, and the rest is history. And it's kind of what this reminds me of, except for instead of a coach, it's a player. You move on from Big Ben. He was kind of like the last real link from the to that Super Bowl era. And as long as you had him around, you were looking to the past. But now that he's moved on, it's a exciting new era. And with that in mind, training camp coming up, we're going to go over what position by position, which player from each position, or players, if you will, we're most excited about watching this training camp, and who we think can really make a splash. So with the obvious, and that's quarterback. We have a quote unquote 3-guy race, even though it's probably only a 2-guy race. And Mike Thomas probably hoping it's a 1-guy race with Mitch Trubisky. But I'll start with you, Kyle. Who of the quarterback class coming into the training camp, who are you most excited about watching this training camp?
That's a tricky, most excited, because of course we all want to see what Mitch and Kenny are up to, but the storyline I'm following in the QB room, because a lot of people want Mace to be traded or let go, and they want Oladokin to make the 53, but I'm watching for Mason Rudolph to come out poised and professional, and I think he's going to be 53-man roster all 18 weeks. I'm not saying where he's going to be on the field except maybe a victory formation, but I do think that Mace has got nowhere to go but Acrisure Stadium on Sundays.
I like it. about you, Shannon? Of those three, or even Chris Oladokun, who are you most excited about watching?
Well, I'm excited about seeing Oladokun just to see if he has an opportunity to make the practice squad and rooting for the kid, 7th round pick and everything. Having 3 quarterbacks means you really don't have one. And we've talked about it before. You want to get as many practice reps and game action snaps for whoever eventually is going to be the starter. And, each guy has strengths and minuses, weaknesses. Trubisky, people look back and they want to talk about what he's done in the past, both good and bad. And you have to look at the complete package. But it really won't mean anything. Only thing that's going to matter is how he looks with the Steelers. The same is true with Mason Rudolph and how he looks in the offense, because none of us have ever seen Matt Canada's offense. Last year was not Matt Canada's offense. He might have been the offensive coordinator, but that wasn't his system. So we really don't know yet. So, but I guess I'm most excited to see Kenny Pickett, who I don't think will be the starter, maybe not at all this year. I don't think that's the plan. Let's put it that way. But I am excited to see if he has the it factor that I talk about a lot. And that's just, if you watch how he carries himself.
Right.
They had a celebrity softball game this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's just really comfortable. He's calm. He's really chill. He's kind of got as we've said before, a little bit of a Joe Burrow type demeanor to him.
Yeah.
And, I ain't saying he's going to be that, but if he could give you that confidence and that calmness in the heat of battle, and the dude's got talent. I mean, he obviously is athletic. And a lot of times, if you believe in you, other people can believe in you. So that could be really good from a leadership standpoint. So I guess I'm most excited to see if that shows up in the preseason.
Yeah, he's definitely. I'm looking forward to watching and seeing how he comes out of the and how he starts his NFL career. The quicker he can turn into that guy, the better it's going to be for the Steelers. But we don't know if he is that guy. We're not going to know. Mm-hmm. So, it's like a brand new toy. You just can't wait to take it out of the box and wind it up and see what it does. And that's kind of how I feel about him. It's the first time we've had this opportunity since 2004 to see a rookie quarterback with this kind of pedigree join the Steelers. But I think whoever wins the job, it's going to be a great story. I think they're all three of these guys could be great stories. Obviously, Mr. Trubisky, if he comes on and proves to everybody that he was given a raw deal in Chicago, didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He had to move on and be a backup in Buffalo for a year. And, people have said that benefited him with coaching and seeing a NFL MVP candidate sitting behind Josh Allen. So he'd be a great story. Kenny, guy, if he's that Joe Burrow type that you mentioned, Shannon, if he comes out in a year or so wearing a fur coat, we're going to know that he made it. Right? he definitely is that guy. And of course, even Mason Rudolph is a great story. I don't know, people don't want to even admit it, but if Mason Rudolph, if he rises up from the ashes and it is the guy, I mean, you're not going to care 2 or 3 years from now that you hated him at one point or disliked his quarterback play. You just want them to find the best guy. So if Mason Rudolph can rise up and be that guy, that's going to be a great story. But I'm definitely most excited about Kenny Pickett.
Did you see Kenny at the Cam softball game? He was hitting dingers out there. I didn't see anyone else. Easy swing too, easy, effortless swing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Alex Highsmith has he almost got drafted by Major League Baseball, or at least he could have been, I guess. Anyway, he was good enough, but I don't think he even hit a home run. So, he definitely has swagger about him. So if he can back it up with his play on the field, I mean, that's what you want from a quarterback. You want somebody who's not overly cocky, but definitely has that, that almost arrogant confidence about him. That's what you want. So hopefully,
leadership
it can be the Leadership, exactly.
Leadership.
So we're moving. It's leadership whenever they're successful, right? But if he's not successful, then it's arrogance. All right, we'll move on to the offensive line, and it doesn't have to be a specific position, just any one of the anybody from any position along the offensive line. Who are you most excited about? And I'll start with you, Shannon.
Oh, you know who I'm going to say. James Daniels, who I think was the biggest bargain of all interior offensive linemen. I think he's 24, won't be 25. I'm working on an article about it coming up. He won't be 25 until September 13th. He's a 4-year starter for the Chicago Bears, and he's just hitting his prime. He's just reaching his peak. And the Steelers got him for a song and dance compared to what a lot of teams are paying their interior offensive linemen. I love his leadership. I love the fact that, he could be probably a Pro Bowl center based on his collegiate experience at Iowa. He's well versed. He's well schemed. The guy's just a stud. And I think that he will be the best offensive lineman guard that the Steelers have had since David DeCastro. And I'm expecting big things from him. So I'm very excited.
So you think that's his ceiling? He can reach a Pro Bowl, all pro level? Because I know he hasn't made a Pro Bowl yet, right, over his first few seasons. So do you think he has that potential?
Yeah, not yet, but I think he can.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised when I found out he didn't have that on his resume, a Pro Bowl, because you heard so much great things about him coming in. When he was a free agent, and the fact that he was considered one of the best free agents out there. So I think they got a great find. What about you? What about you, Kyle?
I'm more. We kind of know who the starting five are going to be. So even though we haven't seen them play together, I'm kind of more interested in who are going to be like those 6, 7, 8 guys. Kendrick Green. What is he went from starting every game. Almost. I mean, he kind of got benched at the end of injury, or was it a bench? I don't know. It's like, how is he going to respond? Because it's kind of it seems like he's on pace for a demotion, for going from starting all last season to maybe being the backup now at left guard, or maybe being in a position battle for left guard. So I'm kind of like, how is he going to respond? This is a big challenge because, even though as bad as the run was, the man is the incumbent starting center, so kind of getting a demotion, if that is what happens. I kind of want to see how he responds to that. I want to see, these guys like LeGlue, is he gonna be a 53er, or is he going to back to the squad? Because especially on the offensive line, we need more than 5 hats every season. It takes 7, sometimes 8 hats throughout the course of a season. So I want to see, these 6, 7, 8 guys. Joe Haig, maybe, is he gonna get more reps? Those are the guys I'm looking forward to seeing.
I like that. Those somebody that I'm most excited about, you mentioned him, is Kendrick Green, and the reason why is because he was kind of demoted last year. They said it was injury, like you said, but it seemed like he was benched in favor of J.C. Hassenauer at center, and he's officially moved over to guard. And I think people were coming into the season, they were assuming that Kevin Dotson would be the starter at left guard. And I was listening to a radio segment with Jerry Dulac a month or so ago, and they asked him to predict all 5 starters, and he said the 4 that we kind of would assume, 4 of the 5, and then he said left guard, he predicted that Kendrick Green would beat out Kevin Dotson, which I found pretty interesting. Yeah, so I'm interested to see how much switching over to guard benefits him, and how much he's improved overall as an NFL offensive lineman from year 1 to year 2. So he's definitely somebody I'm looking forward to seeing. That might be a camp battle, left guard, that we're not even considering. So that's somebody I'm most excited about, just because I want to see what how much he's improved. And of course, I'm extremely excited about Dan Moore. I want to see the leap he made from year 1 to year 2, because I think a lot of fans are still not comfortable with him as a starting left tackle. That there's been a lot of talk this offseason about going out and getting a veteran, somebody more with a higher pedigree. to sort of maybe come in and be the starter or compete for the starting job. But I mean, I think, he was a great find last year in the 4th round. And the fact that he started 16 games, I think that's a good start for a rookie, a 4th round pick at an important position. So Kendrick Green, number 1, and certainly Dan Moore, number 2.
It's like we said this 2 years ago. Well, the offensive line can't get any worse than 2020, and then it was like 2021 was kind of. So I don't want to say we can't get any worse. We can only look up. I don't want to jump that gun, but it seems like at some point you gotta go up.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I never, it would have been nice if it was a overnight, the transformation, from year 1, from the old guard to the new guard last year. When I say old guard, I mean like the unit. You're switching over from 5 guys who were kind of shot mostly to 5 young guys. It wasn't going to be a seamless transition. I think we were hoping it would be, but I think we were anticipating that it wouldn't be. And last year was it certainly wasn't it proved to be anything but a seamless transition. But I mean, you look at the experience that Moore got last year, and now you bring in Mason Cole to be your center, presumably, and you have obviously the very well thought of James Daniels. If Shooks can be steady at right tackle, and if Dan Moore can keep improving, you never know. This unit could be at least average this year. And average would be a step up from what we've seen the last 2 years. So
average would be great.
Yeah. Average would be. I mean, obviously you want more than that, but average would be a step up. All right, let's move on to. Let's see. Obviously, I'm doing this from memory. I'm trying to remember position by position.
Well, what about wide receivers? If we're sticking on offense.
There you go, wide receiver. I was gonna say tight end, but wide receiver. That's why I like where your head's at, Kyle. So wide receiver, what are you thinking of, Kyle? Who's your the player you're most excited about?
Well, I mean, I think we're all excited to see George Pickens in action. But I think that the amount of participation that George Pickens can provide will determine a lot about what we do with Calvin Austin, because I'm not convinced, 10 days before camp that because rookies don't automatically contribute, their rookie season. It took Martavius Bryant, I think, 8 weeks to be activated. Even Manny Sanders and Antonio Brown, they weren't activated at the same time. So I fear that Calvin Austin isn't going to have a role on the 53 initially in September, because I think that veterans are going to have the experience to contribute. Like week 1 in Cincinnati, I think that you're going to need someone like a Boykin or an Ant-Man, Anthony Miller, a veteran. We're not ready for those rookies yet to contribute in week 1. So, that's maybe a worst case scenario. But, I don't think that these rookies are going to come out of the gate week 1, Pickens and Austin. And so I want to see what some of these vets, Cody White, Anthony Miller, Miles Boykin, who I think is going to be mostly special teams, but I think in September they're going to, there's going to be a need for some veteran snaps on offense.
I like that. I think, with Austin, I think people, are assuming he's gonna make the team and be a cog right away. But I mean, he's obviously a 4th round pick, and that's never a guarantee. Plus, he's like 110 pounds or whatever it is, 170 pounds. He's a really, really small guy. So there are no guarantees that he's gonna even make the 53-man squad, let alone contribute right away. So yeah, that's interesting. What about you, Shannon?
Well, I'm really excited about Pickens, as Kyle said. But one of the reasons I'm really excited about Pickens is I agree that Calvin Austin III might take a little while. I do think he's going to contribute this year, but it might be closer to mid-season, which I think was where Kyle was going with that as well.
Right.
I'm excited about what Pickens can offer on the outside, because I think it's going to shift and affect Chase Claypool in a huge way, because I think we're going to see Claypool out of the slot, and I think he potentially could be a slot monster. That's what I've called him, because he's going to be a matchup nightmare. Because if you put a linebacker on him, he's toast. If you put a safety or corner on him, he's going to overwhelm him with his size, because most slot corners are little. So you're going to have to move somebody else in there, which affects the rest of the defense, as the Steelers know. So I'm very excited about what Claypool can be. And I want to see it, the first fruits of that labor start to show up in training camp. We want to hear reports coming out that, hey, he's dominant. He's destroying our slot guys. If we hear that,
right,
then I'll feel really excited about the season.
I agree with you. I was gonna pick Claypool. I think he was so intriguing coming out of the gate in his rookie year. I mean, he was so dominant. I mean, that one game against the Eagles, he had 4 touchdowns. And last year was a step back. I mean, there was no question about it. He took a step back. But again, though, it was hard to evaluate any skill position players because of the struggles with on the offensive line, and Ben Roethlisberger being his last year and him sort of being on his last leg, so to speak. So I just want to see if the quarterback play is better this year, and I think people were anticipating it's going to be at least a little bit better because everybody's younger anyway.
I read a stat. I think I read a stat that DJ and Juju averaged it was less than 7 yards per attempt or something. It's just it's got to be higher than that, right? If it's Mitch, if it's Kenny, it's got to be higher than 7 yards per attempt.
Out of the last 200, out of the whole NFL, 2 guys have had 200 targets and averaged less than 7 yards a target. And it was Deontay Johnson and Juju. So that just shows you that the last 2 seasons, the offense, they just could not drive the ball down the field for a lot of reasons. So that has to change.
Yeah, and I think that you can attribute, Deontay Johnson's drops. I mean, obviously, not solely, but at least partially on the fact that every time he caught a pass, just about there were 5 guys. You're throwing it 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. You're going to have 5 or 6 defenders around you. I think that may have affected his concentration. But if Claypool takes a step this year, and if Pickens proves to be a force right away, well, then you have yourself somebody that they didn't have last year. That's 3 really good, talented receivers. I think Juju. He got hurt earlier in the year, so we don't know how he would have played out the rest of the year. But they only, other than Claypool and Johnson, you didn't have much after that. James Washington was a big disappointment last year. So if you can get a nice 3-headed monster at the receiving core this year, that's going to go a long way in making that offense more explosive. All right, let's move on to tight end. I think it's obvious who we're all excited about, but I think we can add some nuance to it. Who are you most excited about, Shannon, in the tight end spot?
Well, Freiermuth is the obvious answer, because if Claypool isn't in the slot, I want to see Freiermuth in there the other snaps, because Freiermuth he's like a Kelsey and he's like a Kittle. He's a big tight end who runs like a wide receiver, moves like a wide receiver. He has incredible hands, the best hands on the team. So he's another matchup nightmare. But I'm actually really excited about Zach Gentry and Connor Hayward, because I think that both guys offer versatility that we're not really understanding how useful they can be in Canada's offense. Mm-hmm. There's clips of Zach Gentry blocking Myles Garrett like an offensive tackle. His blocking improved light years last year. I mean, it was night and day compared to his first, season. And so I think he's going to be so valuable as a blocker, and then leak out on them rollouts and misdirection plays. You get him the ball out in the open field, guys ain't going to want to tackle 6'8" and 260 or 270, whatever he is. Then Hayward, I mean, the guy can do everything adequately to well. And so I'm expecting kick out blocks. I'm expecting short yardage runs, a little bit of H-back, fullback. And guys like it, winning teams have those guys. They're glue guys. And so I'm just super excited about the whole tight end position.
Yeah, I think there were times last year where I forgot that Zach Gentry was still here, because he had such a huge transformation when he appeared in games and caught passes. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's Zach Gentry. He looks like a completely different guy. I watched him in training camp, and he was he was fantastic. He dominated in blocking drills from what I could see from my layman's novice eyes. But what about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Muth, right? Obviously excited. Like, all expectations are this guy is going to be able to do whatever's asked of him. We saw him make those circus catches in year one. Gentry, of course, Gentry's catching passes. What's happening? Only in a Big Ben offense, right? Where Ray McLeod is converting thirds and Zach Gentry's catching passes. But I'm excited about Connor Hayward as well. I just don't. I'm hesitant to say it's okay if this guy starts on the practice squad. I mean, he's 6 foot 6 foot nothing. I saw him at the softball game. I don't even know if he's 6 foot. Let's be honest. So
I think
it's like
to 5'11".
Oh, 5'11". Okay, I believe that.
Yeah.
How is he going to line up? He's not going to line up against defensive linemen. He's not going to be able to. Is he even going to chip a D lineman? So I'm curious on how he's going to play against the big boys. I think that if he starts off on the squad, that's fine too. The crowd goes silent.
Well, no. I mean, I'm actually intrigued. I wouldn't say excited, but I'm intrigued by Hayward because he's 11 or 6 foot. No matter what he is, he's not anywhere near your average height for a tight end. And the fact that he's listed as a tight end, to me, that's intriguing. How are they going to utilize this guy? As Shannon said, he's so versatile, or at least he was at Michigan State. He's even good at returning kickoffs. So I just want to see what this guy can add, not just to the offense, but just to the team in general. How can he be that kind of contributor that you can't cut, even though he's a 6th round pick? You have to keep him around because he's so versatile. He can do so many different things. So I'm definitely excited about Cam's baby brother. So we'll move over to the defense, and we'll start with the defensive line. Obviously, they Cam's there. You have Alu back. They went out and got.
What about What about the running backs?
Oh my gosh, I'm a horrible host.
What about the running backs?
We're all excited about Benny Snell football. We're all excited. I'm sorry, I forgot about the running back. We'll start. I'm sorry. Okay, I screwed up. You can bench me. Running backs. Shannon, who are you most excited about?
None of them.
Really?
You could have skipped it. You could have skipped
it.
I mean, I want to see what Najee Harris can do behind an average line. I think he can have 1,500 yards behind even an average line. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see that next step in his development. If he gets a little help, has a quarterback he can take snaps under center, and open up the creativity. I'm really excited to see what he can become because I think he's a Pro Bowler if that can happen. But yeah, I just had to pick at you about forgetting the running back.
Oh no, that was a big omission on my part. I can't believe I was like, I had my mind set on defensive line like a rookie quarterback. I didn't see all my reads. I didn't go through my progressions. But what about you, Kyle?
We know what we know what these guys are. We know what Benny Snell is. Although I don't think that his roster spot gets challenged because of his contributions in special teams. I think that's kind of where he gets his lock. A lot of people are curious about this undrafted guy, Mateo Durant out of Duke.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I know enough about him to know that he can contribute, but the size in the room is kind of small. Anthony McFarland's 5'8". That other rookie, Jalen Warren, is small too. So I don't know. Trey Edmonds has a little bit of size, but we haven't seen him really get any snaps. So I don't know what to expect out of this running back room.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a behind Najee. You know what you have with him, and like Shannon said, if the line improves at all, he's going to make the Pro Bowl. But behind him, I mean, Benny Snell's an okay backup, but everybody known. And Mateo Durant, he rushed 2,058 yards his last 2 years at Duke. He signed I read today, it was like the most they ever gave a running back as far as a signing bonus, an undrafted free agent. But we were gushing about Benny Snell 3 years ago. And so I don't know. I am actually excited, but intrigued by Anthony McFarland. We keep hearing about this relationship between him and Matt Canada because of he was his coach in college at Maryland at one point. So I just want to see if this is the year that they finally try to utilize him as a weapon. And since he's going to have, supposedly Canada will have his entire playbook at his disposal because he won't have to have like a marriage with Ben's philosophies, So I just want to see if they're going to, if McFarland has it in him to actually make an impact finally in his third year, because he's been just non-existent over his first 2 years. So I'll go with McFarland, my namesake. Moving on to the defensive line. Defensive line. What about Kyle? Who are you most excited about? The 5-star, or the three projected starters, the backups, the rookie Leal. Who's your guy?
Let's start with the guys who were there at the end of the season. I want to see what Montravius Adams can do. He kind of turned around. Not that a single lineman can turn around a running game, but when he came on, it finally turned around the running game from being the worst in all time to just the worst in franchise history. So if he can stick around, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going out on a limb by saying this, but there might be a camp battle with him and Tyson. Tyson's 35. And he hasn't played in 18 months or something, right? So
right.
I wouldn't mind seeing what Adams brings if he continues with he was the definition of jump on the moving train last season. So now that he can drive the train a little, I wouldn't mind seeing something there.
Yeah, I mean, people, former third rank, I think in 2017, I believe, and he really impressed some people last year when he came on at the end of the year. And as you said, Alualu is 35. He just turned 35, and he missed almost the entire year with an injury. So, when these guys fall off a cliff, they fall off fast. So we'll see about that. But that's a good one. What about you, Shannon?
Both of y'all can bite your tongue. If Tyson Alualu was here, if he was here, he would. You think Cam Hayward gets upset when he's disrespected? I can't believe y'all said that about Alualu. That man has been.
If Alualu was here,
prayer. And when he went out last year, that's when it all fell apart. And at 35 years old, I think he can still play 40% of the snaps at nose tackle. And I think I'm excited about Montravius Adams also as being his backup and learning at the foot of the master. But saying that somebody's going to take Alualu's spot is heresy. I am appalled, and I don't even want. I can't even talk about it anymore. I can't even talk about it anymore.
Raw nerves.
I got to blame Kyle for this. He's sitting in a radio station. He's a shock jock apparently. So yeah, wow, darn you, Kyle. I can't you influence me to agree with you. But I am looking forward to Leal. I don't know how he's going to fit in. There's questions about his speed, his size, his ability to stop the run. But he is a third-round pick, and he went into his senior year or his last year in college as a highly ranked prospect. So, this guy could be a real bargain for them. If he's, they brought in Ogunjobi, but third-round picks, they're drafted to start eventually. So I'm interested to see what he brings to the table, and if he can silence some of those doubts about his ability. So yeah, that's mine. It's a packed room in there too. I was just gonna say it's a packed room in there. There's like 7 or 8 people who are going to be fighting for maybe 6, maybe a 7th. I don't if they go 7 D linemen, someone like Henry Mondo or either the twins, like a lot of there's a lot of guys who aren't going to make the 53. Right. Yeah, Loudermilk, he's a guy that they were criticized for trading a draft pick to move up last year to pick him in the middle, the 5th round. Yeah, Shannon. Yeah, I mean, when you read his profile, his grade his draft grades were so low. You're like, why didn't they just wait? And you said it. I think you said this, Shannon. They probably could have got this guy as an undrafted free agent, but he did impress a little bit last year. But you know, when you bring in an Ogunjobi and you draft a guy in the third round, you know, and Adams obviously shined last year. You know, it might be a numbers game already for him, or you know, back to the practice squad or to the practice squad. But let's move to inside linebacker next. Obviously, I think it's there aren't very many candidates as far as, you know, I think it's pretty obvious who we might be excited about seeing. But I'll start with I think you're next up, Shannon, or you're first. Who are you excited about?
His name is Mark Robinson, and he's going to win. He's going to win the Isaac Redmond Award. I've already started the campaign, and he is going to be that downhill thumper, that aggressive classic Steelers inside linebacker that the Steelers have been missing since Vince Williams hung up his cleats. And he might not start this year, but I think he's going to make the squad. I think he's going to surprise everybody, make the squad, and he's going to be a special teams demon. He might kill a player or two on special teams if you give him a full head of steam like that. So we got to pray for everybody's safety. But I am very stoked about Mark Robinson. I digress.
Woo! Well, no, I mean, like Dave said, I think something else, but still, I'll use that. He said testify. I think you were testifying on his behalf, and I mean, you know, he kind of reminds you of Vince Williams. You know, downhill,
but more athletic.
More athletic, yeah. And yeah, here's a guy who was a running back, and he kind of for 3 years, and he transferred 3 different times, and you know, he was a walk-on at Ole Miss, the SEC, and he started last year, and he did well for himself. So that's somebody to look out for. Who are you most excited about, Kyle?
I mean, you know, Robinson is one of my favorites going into camp. I love the story. I love what he's overcome. I'm not as confident as Shannon that he's going to be a 53er this season, you know, just the learning curve itself, but I'm definitely rooting for him. This is another room that's super crowded, and someone's going to lose their job who might not, you know, deserve it. Because, all right, so, you know, of course, Miles Jack, Devin Bush, big play Spillane is in there. But you've got Buddy Johnson, who people think are going to make, even though we haven't seen him take a snap really on defense, people think he's ready to make that leap. You've also got special teams aces in there like Marcus Allen and UG3, who don't really play on defense, but they seem to got Danny Smith's something on him. You know, they're blackmailing him for a roster spot or something. So who is not going to make, you know, someone's going to have to play special teams to make this roster. If Robinson can run down those kicks, like Shannon says, maybe he is the guy, but someone's got to lose a job in this room. There's just so many people. Yeah.
And, you know, Gilbert has been around now forever, and he really hasn't contributed much at all on defense. And, you know, if you can find a young player like a Robinson who shows great potential at linebacker, but also as a special teams demon, then, you know, he's got the team made. And Shannon, you look like you're ready to say something dramatic.
Marcus Allen. That's all I got to say. The experiment is over. Marcus Allen needs to be gone.
Well, I mean, I think he definitely could be a victim of the numbers game. That's for sure. I mean, when you bring in a Miles Jack and you know, here's a guy who is a converted safety. So, but my number one, and this is obvious, it's Devin Bush, because they invested so much in him 3 years ago, and they did so for a reason, because of who he was replacing. That was Ryan Shazier, and Ryan Shazier was so integral. He was the centerpiece of that defense. He was Troy Polamalu at inside linebacker. Essentially, that's who he was for them, and they expected that from Devin Bush, and he has not come close to that. He was pretty good his rookie year, and he looked okay. You know, he looked like he was improving his second year, and then he had that torn ACL. And last year he was not a good player last year. I think we can all agree he was not a good player. He seemed to come on a little bit at the end, but he was not. He seemed to be unsure of himself. it seemed to be more mental than even physical with him. And hopefully for his sake and the Steelers' sake, he can overcome those mental blocks this year and become that explosive player in the middle of that defense that they drafted him to be. So he's definitely who I'm excited about. Yeah. Hands up in prayer for that.
He's probably got the most
outside
at
linebacker?
stake. He's probably got the most at stake this season. Yeah.
He does. Because I mean, if he becomes that all pro level player, then he joins obviously TJ and Cam and Minka as another weapon for that defense, somebody that you have to prepare for as an opponent. But what about outside linebacker? I mean, I think we're all excited about TJ, but outside of him, who are we excited about? I'll start with you, Kyle.
I mean, we know it's going to be TJ and Alex, and it looks like Jannard rock, is going to be a roster lock. And then, so is it going to come down to Tuzar versus Tuska? Or is there maybe a name off the radar that comes in? Sometimes, someone comes in off the radar that the fans never see until training camp starts. Everyone loved Tuzar Skipper. And then that went to nowhere. He was the sack leader in the preseason. That doesn't mean much. So, I don't know. The depth there, I guess, is a little. I don't want to say disheartening, but you're one injury away from not knowing who the heck is going to be on the field.
Yeah, I think we saw that last year when Watt missed some time and Highsmith also missed some time. The depth was concerning. What about you, Shannon?
Well, first, I think Highsmith's going to have an increase in sacks, 8 to 10 at least. And I believe, the dude's work ethic is legendary. From walk-on in Charlotte to, I mean, he really was able to set a great edge last year. And they missed that a lot when he was out or dealing with that groin injury. I agree that Tuska, I think he really started to show something towards the end of the year. I think he will be one of the backups. If it's Skipper or Avery has never impressed me, and I don't know if Skipper's really, ever had a chance since he had that big preseason performance. But one thing I've said before, and I'll reiterate, I think Leal could give them some snaps on the edge to relieve like Highsmith on occasion. Because he sets a mean edge, and he is very athletic. So, I was hoping he'd stay around 280 pounds and be a little bit Lamar Woodley-esque. But, they say now he's over 300. So, but I still think he's athletic enough he could fill in a little bit there. And, that would free up another roster spot at a bigger area of need.
I never even considered that. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, who know? You never know. I mean, look at Anthony Chickalo. He converted from defensive end to outside linebacker. And he did okay for himself as a backup. I'm definitely obviously excited about Highsmith. I just want to see what he does in year 3. I mean, how could he not get a lot of favorable matchups when you got TJ Watt and you have Cam Hayward and you have Ogunjobi if he's the player he was before his injury. Then Highsmith, I mean, this is year number 3. He really improved a lot last year as a full-time starter his first year. And, as you said, his work ethic is unbelievable. To walk on at Charlotte, he couldn't even get a scholarship at Charlotte, and then work his way up to one of the best, maybe the best player in the history of that team. It doesn't go back that far, but to be a 3rd-round pick in the NFL, that just shows you how far he came in a short period of time. And, he's only impressed me in his first 2 years. So I'm excited to see what he can bring in year number 3. So let's move on we'll just go with the secondary in general. Shannon, who are you most excited about seeing between the between the cornerbacks and the safeties?
Oh, that's a tough one.
You can break it down if you want. You can break it down.
Well, I mean, I'm really excited about Levi Wallace because I think he's a huge upgrade from Joe Hayden. And I love Joe Hayden. The player and the person. I just think he's a great representative for the Steelers, but he lost the step even before the injury last year. And I think Levi Wallace is going to be an upgrade immediately. I love his versatility, his tenacity. He's an excellent tackler. So I think they really upgraded there. And then I'm excited to see Kazee at safety because the Steelers haven't had a true deep center field cover safety because that's really not Fitzpatrick's strength. And that's what Kazee excels at. And he can fill in the slot. So again, the versatility of a guy like Kazee and a guy like Norwood, you could keep a player at another position and carry one extra guy there because they can play slot and safety. So I guess those are the two guys I'm most excited about is Levi Wallace and Kazee. I'll miss his first name up, but Kazee.
That's I think Norwood, I'm intrigued by him, but yeah, Kazee is somebody who can come in and be a real asset to that secondary. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not super excited about this secondary. I think there's a lot of people that still need to prove what they, I guess I'm most excited about Witherspoon. He kind of, he came in, talk about coming on the moving train cold, kind of was like a little culture shock at the beginning and then came around. And so with all that much more time to digest the playbook, the scheme and all that, I kind of think that he might be the clear number one. And maybe I'm excited what he can do it all comes down to the pass rush, the secondary. If we can get to the quarterback, right, then the pass rush then the secondary looks amazing. And when we can't get to the quarterback, then we see, teams like the Chargers, Keenan Allen, just, running wherever they want. So, right. I mean, it seems like the talent is all there. You got three starters with Sutton, Levi, and Witherspoon. So, it's just like, is the whole unit, the whole defense come into place to make the secondary excel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so much is going to be dependent upon the pass rush. I mean, they've recorded 50 plus sacks dating back to 2017 every season. So, if they can continue to do that, it's gonna make life so much better for that secondary. And if they can improve at stopping the run, that's where Tyson Alualu comes in. Guys like that, then that takes more off of their plate as well. So I'm definitely most excited about Witherspoon because he seems to be a feast or famine kind of guy so far during his young career. And we saw that last year. He was barely on the radar for most of last year. And then he comes on at the end of the year and he's your best cornerback down the stretch. If he can harness that talent, or if he can take it to another level, then maybe he's your new CB1, with Witherspoon, or I'm sorry, Levi Wallace being a really, really dependable and number two. What's up, Shannon?
Can he or will he tackle?
I don't know, but if they could do a lot of tackling up front, I mean, but I mean, I think it's more important for him to be if he can cover his receivers like a blanket. I think that would that's something we haven't seen other than Joe Hayden around here for many years. That's always been a problem for them. So if they can get that out of him, then I'll take that.
But you could still run the football in the NFL. Eventually, he has to tackle somebody.
Right. Well,
that's the thing. First down, where you play Arthur Mollett and Trey Norwood as your corners to stop the run, and then you go back.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a good. That's one thing I forget about when it comes to cornerbacks is they sometimes have to tackle. I mean, we got spoiled by the likes of Mike Taylor and guys like that over the years. But yeah, I guess he has to improve there. But I'm excited about his potential as far as a coverage guy. Mm-hmm. As far as safety, I'm definitely excited about Norwood. I like his versatility. Mm-hmm. He showed me a lot in week one last year playing the slot, and he can play the deep center field. So if he can improve there and be your deep safety, that frees up Fitzpatrick. So they seem to like him a lot. He seems to be their new Cam Sutton, a guy who's a heady player and versatile. So I'm intrigued to see what he can do in year two. On that note, I think we had a good show, guys. What do you think? I think we should probably wrap it up. This is fun, and I think we got to. What's up?
What about special teams?
He wants to talk horse.
I'm very excited about whoever their long snapper is. I really I can't wait to see what he does. And then of course the kicker's okay. The place.
Yeah, I'm excited about that Chris Boswell guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he has some potential there.
Right. I don't think anybody's gonna challenge him this training camp. You never know. I mean, Mike Tomlin has said what these guys do in training camp, that forms an opinion as far as their future. So, you never know. I don't know who the backup kicker is in camp, but he better Boswell better be on alert. What about you, Kyle? Are you excited about that long snapper?
Well, I mean, Christian Kuntz was one of the only people to get the invite to TJ's wedding. I didn't see Bud Dupree when I saw Christian Kuntz there. So he's got the inside track in the locker room, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But as far as Boswell first, let's get him some QB reps this camp, okay?
Okay.
And Presley Harvin, let's get him some. Let's practice some field goals with Presley in case we need a backup kicker this time, okay?
Yeah, that was
that's awesome.
I forgot about that Packers game. Wow, and then I forgot about Boswell almost dying in that big field goal. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, or he should get rid of the ball sooner. Like he's no Ben. He's no Ben. You can't just hold it to the last second. All right, but there you go, Shannon. I forgot about special teams. You kept me on track. But on that note, I think we're going to call it a show. And do you know what we do at the end of shows, Kyle? The whole wrestling thing.
Yeah, the whole Ric Flair thing, right?
Yeah, you could be Ric Flair, and for Kyle Kreis and Shannon White and Brian Anthony Davis, who's somewhere off in the woods. Just when you think you have all the answers, Shannon,
we keep changing the questions.
Woo!
I love it. Woo! You guys have a great week.
Go Kyle.
Go Steelers.